Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It is the regular town meeting of Rocky Mountain House for June 21st, 2022, and it's 1 p.m. And in recognition of today's Canadian National Indigenous Peoples Day, I would like to first start off with our acknowledgement. So the town of Rocky Mountain House acknowledges that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground for and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Blackfoot, Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, and Métis. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody has an opportunity to go and visit the football field sometime today and check out all the activities that are happening there. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we'll start with number 2.1 to adopt the agenda for June 21st, 2022 for the regular council meeting. Is there any additions or changes? So could I have a motion to adopt the minutes? Councillor Hutchinson.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And that's carried. So moving forward in our agenda for 3.1, I'm very pleased today to see that we have a delegation from the Rocky Flying Club with Neil Cook and Lenora Crane. And thank you very much for coming and welcome. So there's a seat here and Laura will move so that you both have microphones. And I'll just remind you that when you are speaking to press the button in the middle there and it'll turn a red light on so that we can all hear you.
Okay, thank you for having us. As was stated, my name is Neil Cook. I'm the VP of the Rocky Flying Club, and this is Lenora Crane. She's our social coordinator. So a little bit of history about the Rocky Flying Club so we can get going. We're representing the Rocky Flying Club. Our COPA flight number is 218. So what COPA is, what it stands for is the Canadian Owners and Pilots Association. So it's a national organization of like-minded pilots and aviation and aircraft owners. So the Rocky Flying Club was actually started in the 1970s. It was a registered not-for-profit society, and this not-for-profit was registered on and off from its inception to currently. So some of the members you probably would recognize is Doug Martin, Mike Massivchuk, Don Chevalier, Omers Skatoris, and Wally Prozac.
Prozac. And
sorry.
Skidaris.
Pardon me.
No, you're doing really good.
I didn't get the honor to know some of these founding members of the club, but I do know that they were very highly regarded local people here in Rocky. So part of COPA flight, so part of the organization, you have to have 10 COPA members to be able to build COPA flight. So this is part of the bylaws within COPA, and COPA is very interested that it is a not-for-profit society that is formed, and they do highly encourage that you are registered within Alberta as well. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Lenora.
Okay, we're trying to keep this quick. We just want to give you an idea that we have a group out at the airport that really want to promote aviation, both commercial and recreational at the airport, and to in the guidance that the Canadian Association gives us is that they want to see a lot of the promotion of all groups of aviation. They want to see safety awareness. That's a big one. We represent people at the personal aviation at the local level. COPA does a lot of stuff at the national level, lobbying Transport Canada for changes, especially with airports that are getting closed, things like that, and safety initiatives. Our job is to represent our local chapter to the National Association and promote fellowship and a better understanding among the members of the COPA flight and other COPA members in the area, as well as for the general public. So we've given you a list of activities that we hope that we'll be able to do as many of these as possible. These are sort of suggested things. They largely are for recreational flying, but we are also interested in promoting business aviation at the airport and having everybody work harmoniously to develop the airport. And we just wanted to let folks know here that we have a group that, and I know it's kind of funny, Neil and I don't live in Rocky Mountain House, but because we've got more practice presenting to you, we got delegated. We are actually the only two members of our chapter who do not live in Rocky or area. The rest of the members are all local people.
But we look for every excuse to come to Rocky. So
We're up here anyways for a lot of things. We have a fly-in breakfast on the weekend, so
which we would like to personally invite everyone here to come. So it starts at 8 a.m. Saturday morning at the airport.
Yeah, so come on out for pancakes, and we've got the local firefighters helping us do the preparation, and people from the area helping to. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not thunderstorming and nobody flies in, but we'll try our best.
The proceeds from the breakfast are being donated to Rocky Search and Rescue as well. So it's really a good place to be able to donate and give back to the community.
Yep. So to maintain our chapter, we have to have elections every year. We have to have bylaws. We are incorporated under the provincial not-for-profit Societies Act. So we have to keep that up as well. And so yearly we have to report to the National Association who our elected representatives are for our chapter and update them with our information. And otherwise they just expect you to uphold their values, but get busy promoting aviation in your area. So I think that's about.
Yeah, so one of the initiatives we're currently working on, and COPA is big on this, is trying to promote aviation and youth. So, and it's always a challenging thing with aviation to get youth inspired into it, because it's a challenging thing to get into financially, and less people are doing it. So one of the things that they try to promote is Air Cadets. So my son actually joined Air Cadets this year. It's his first year. I've been kind of volunteered into being the VP on the parents committee. So we're trying to get his cadet squadron and our COPA flight connected. So we're working on a website right now. And we send information to them and trying to get the Air Cadets up here and involved in the COPA chapter and some of the activities going on at the airport. So, and then the other one we're working on right now is doing COPA for kids. So this is a COPA program where we try to get kids in the aircraft and actually provide rides to them so they can experience what it's like to be in a very small single engine aircraft. So it's a great experience for them to kind of get that kickstart and that initial bug of aviation into their lives.
Just a question, is there Army or Sea Cadets in Rocky at all?
There is a cadets program through the Legion, but I just don't know specifically what chapter they are.
There's Army Sea and Air
Army.
Cadets.
They're Sea Cadets.
Yeah. So I looked for our kids to join the Rocky Air Cadets, but there was not an Air Cadet program in Rocky. So
Maybe something that we can help foster down the road.
So, you know what? I have the perfect guy to get that going, because he is a military retired aviation engineer for helicopters.
Oh,
And I met him at Remembrance Day, and his wife is Candace, and I think he would be the perfect person because he wants to go into education now. Like she is. So I will put a bug in his ear.
It's a really good program with lots of leadership opportunities and for the youth, and a small percentage every year get a free glider license and a pilot's license paid for. on the
Yeah.
scholarship program, which is, they work towards that. But even if they don't get that, there's huge opportunities for leadership and things in cadet programs.
So I came up through the Air Cadet program, and that is how I obtained my pilot's license, was through there. So I can speak personally that it is a great program that does instill lots of leadership skills.
They didn't let girls in when I first started. Yeah.
Hmm.
Things have changed now. Now they've got lots of girls in the program.
Hmm.
All right.
So that's a little bit about our COPA chapter 218. Any questions from you guys?
Counselor Boniface.
For many years, but it hasn't been for a while now. In the past, we've had like flying school out at the airport. And I know many of my friends in town have gotten their pilot's license through that flying school. Is this something that you could see in the future that you'd be willing to bring back to Rocky?
Yep, certainly I'll look at it. So I'm going to give you, oh, thank you for turning that on. So right now, the schools that you've had here in the past, from my understanding, have been satellite schools from larger schools in Edmonton or Calgary have brought somebody in here. Right now, there's a huge shortage of flight instructors, especially senior ones, because even with COVID, lots of people retired and didn't go back to work and stuff. So the airlines are forecast to hire like crazy for the next 2 years. And even Calgary Flying Club, I'm on their board of directors. They've lost all their senior instructors in the last 6 months. And Drumheller approached all of the big flying schools to run a school in Drumheller, and all of the big flying schools turned them down. The only person they could get to run a flying school in Drumheller was the fellow in Bicyker, who is a one-man show, and he's going to divide his time between the two spots. So the challenge here is finding an instructor, right? And who is senior enough to be able to run a school on their own. So that's the first challenge. Getting sponsors here is not an issue. I've had 2 or 3 people say, if you want to run a flying school here, Lenora, I'd be happy to sponsor you, help you buy an airplane, whatever. I'm, how do I put this tactfully? A little bit scared of running a flying school here right now, because I'm afraid that if I did it, there would be a lot of opposition. In a small place like this, if you're going to make a go of it, you can't compete with the giant flying schools in Edmonton and Calgary, and it's a very small profit margin business. So either you have tons of volume or you have a niche. And if I was going to run a school here, I would cater to the local population with doing like pilot licenses. I'm actually there's a couple people who are partway through their pilot's licenses. I'm going to try to finish them this summer, just freelancing myself. But I would want to have an aerobatic school, and I'm worried about it would have too much opposition out here to be able to be viable, because that would be the niche that would draw people in that wouldn't just go to one of the big schools in the city. So yeah, it's still right up there on the horizon, but it's right now the climate is very difficult for starting up another flying school anywhere, getting staff. I was talking to the chief pilot for WestJet a couple months ago, and he flat out told me he doesn't know where they're going to get the pilots they need. And my husband's a training pilot for Jazz, and he's swamped busy, just constantly training right now as people leave and bringing in the new people. So yeah. So basically you need a retired person like me to come run a little flying school, right?
We actually, I was at a meeting the other day, and labor shortages is a huge topic
Everywhere.
with all municipalities and in areas of different.
It's great if you're 20 and you got a pilot's license right now.
Did we have any other questions? Oh, Sir Counselor Boniface.
Well, I hope that you can get the flying school going. So,
Yeah, we're gonna keep looking at it.
when we did a tour a while back of the airport, I noticed that one of the things there is a landing map that kind of shows how you come in and land there. And is that gonna be updated at any time soon and kind of take into consideration some of the changes that have been made within our own airport?
So one of our questions for you was, is there going to be an airport committee meeting? Because there are some things that are hanging that need to be dealt with by the airport committee. And one of them would be some of the safety initiatives that we would like to put through, and that would be one of them. And the plans for like procedures at the airport and getting everybody on board. So those are a couple of the things that would be that definitely we'd like to see worked on.
Yeah, so I think you're referring to Mr. Lindsay, the airport supervisor, does have I'm not sure if it's official Transport Canada, but there is a diagram about the procedures to come in and land at the Rocky Airport. So Rocky Airport is unique that it is a mandatory frequency. So it is an uncontrolled airport. So there's no control tower with somebody in it telling you what to do. So it's all done by radio communication, pilot to pilot. But with Rocky having the water tankers, it's a mandatory frequency. So you have to have a radio to come and land at this airport. But with having a mandatory frequency, it does change the rules slightly from a normal uncontrolled airport. So some of those are, you can join on downwind, so completely parallel to the runway. You can join on base, you can join directly straight in final to land, or you can't do that actually at just a regular uncontrolled airport that does not have a mandatory frequency. So part of the question there is there was an aerobatics awareness poster that was built, and that awareness poster talked about those differences and the location of the aerobatic practice area. And what that poster was trying to do was to highlight with the mandatory frequency, you do not have to cross midfield and fly through the aerobatic practice area. You can join downwind or on final. So there is no legal requirement for a pilot to have to cross through that practice area midfield. So we did present that to Mr. Kraus and Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Lindsay did review the poster. He did catch a small error that we had on it. We fixed that. But Mr. Kraus was wanting us to wait for aerobatic policies and procedures to be built prior to being able to post that poster in the terminal building.
Which isn't going to happen until you have an airport committee meeting.
Yeah, so I was just
So
gonna
that's
ask Neil, was Mr. Kraus, were you under the impression that Mr. Kraus was gonna have those aerobatic policies and procedures made, or is that something coming from the aerobatic community?
It was supposed to be done partially with the aerobatic committee and partially with the Rocky Flying Club. So we tried working with the Rocky Flying Club that was in place previously, and they declined to be part of that.
Okay,
So then when they closed down, we restarted the Rocky Flying Club to be able to have input into it and to keep the Rocky Flying Club going, because it's been, a great initiative for the community since the 70s.
There needs to be input from all the users at the airport
All
when it
stakeholders.
comes to policy out there. So,
Yeah.
so it would be, we would want to consult with the bomber base and the helicopter company and other people too, to make sure that they're all in line with whatever policies get written up.
and so just along that lines, because obviously you're in awareness that we're in negotiations with the County of Clearwater for like what vision we're gonna move forward with. And we've are unable to, we're in a holding pattern. We're in a holding pattern right now until we sort of get a clear path forward with what we're doing for the vision for what the airport's going to look like with this partnership with the County of Clearwater. And unfortunately, it's just been a super busy year with meetings and agreements and things like that. So we are hoping to have another airport discussion with what we call ICC in the near future. And I don't know when that's been set yet. Like, we have a number of ICC meetings that were, because council and county and like AGMs and all these kind of things are keep pushing it. So I certainly would like to see if you have a list of things that you need to have decided by the airport committee. I would certainly like to have a copy of that detailed list, and then I can bring it up to ICC and see if there's things that perhaps we could discuss in the interim so that the safety is not left hanging, so that the airport remains a safe place until we get the final vision for what direction. So if you could put that letter together for us, and then
we can do
if you
that.
could see me and Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, and I guess just for clarification, the airport is a safe place and aerobatics are currently still being conducted at the airport, so that's good. This is fully, the poster is absolutely just awareness to keep everybody in knowledge and to keep promoting safety at the airport. So just to make everybody more aware of because it is slightly unique, right?
So you
Okay.
answered on my other question was, because we were, what sort of plan does the town and the county have for the airport? And, is there any plan for doing more promotion to bring more businesses and things into the airport, which I definitely, it's so expensive to be at the big airports now. And like old Stidsbury is packed with people who've moved out of Springbank and Calgary, and people are willing to come a lot further to build hangars and keep their airplanes and run their little aviation businesses now. A little bit of marketing and you'd probably get swamped.
We definitely discussed it when we did the last tour. We did a tour with the county and our council members just recently. And there are three, I believe, was it three available lots at the airport that are up for lease, that are available, ready to go right now. And so, like, obviously, if those were sold and leased out, then we do have like room for more opportunities. We did sort of like loosely discuss it, sort of just like just no plans and stay, but it's really hard to put investment into future development while we have inventory sitting there that could be definitely used by someone
So
first.
we can make some suggestions for cheap places to advertise to the right people. if you
Okay.
want.
Yeah. Were all
Okay.
counselors able to attend the airport tour?
Yeah, so what happened, the first one we did as part of our not initiation, but training for the new council as a group.
Okay.
And then so everyone, I think Counselor Alt, did you go to either of those? Yeah, so he's seen it in the past, but he hasn't been to either of those. And I think you'd be the only one that missed the first one and the second one. But other than that, and all the county councilors were there.
Okay.
Trying to think. Oh, I think Sydney was
fabulous.
away.
I think that's it for us, unless you've got more questions. We'll let you get on to other business and stuff.
Okay, I don't see any questions, but thank you so very much for your time. And it's very nice to know that the airport is a safe place. And that we just
absolutely.
have some concerns to move forward with what the vision.
Okay.
And just, we are and have got approval from Jim and Transport Canada to run the Canadian National Championships here and on the long weekend in September. So we'll have people, judges from Ontario and maybe the States and, pilots from all of Western Canada coming to Rocky to compete says next year is the world contest in Las Vegas, actually, where they'll come, and the people who win at this contest will go to Las Vegas to represent Canada at the Worlds.
And just on that, because I'm not sure what we're allowed to advertise. I know there's rules for advertising.
Yep, you can certainly advertise this. So the way the rules work is you have to look after the people that you invite. So if we invite the whole town, it means that we need more volunteers than what we have available in our clubs to do crowd control. Transport Canada doesn't care about the airplanes nearly so much as they care about people on the ground, right? And so if they came to monitor, which they probably will for this one, they want to make sure that there's no place that they can cross the fence and wander out onto the taxiway in front of a prop, and they want to make sure that the public is looked after, right? So there's there's no problem inviting the people as long as they can be looked after. So,
Okay.
and I'm sure you understand that from the point of view of
Yeah.
liability for
Yes.
the town, right?
And transport quite often does come out and monitor. They use it as a training program. So we've done it so many years and we have a good track record. And we have lots of documentation and procedures and everything in place. They usually use it as a training event for lots of their
Yeah.
new staff to come out and monitor us. So
Yeah.
it's really, we have a good relationship with them and they do enjoy coming out and watching the competitions as well.
So there's a good chance that he'll come out and train. But he's also does air shows, and this is the year for air shows. Like there's Cold Lake, Springbank, Edmonton, Lethbridge, all running air shows this year, as well as Medicine Hat's doing a little one. And I think there's some Northern Alberta, BC ones that are going on that are tiny ones. So he's really busy this year. He sat around and did nothing for 2 years and now he's swamped, right?
Right.
So with most communities having theirs this year, that presents a really good opportunity for us to have one again next year potentially. So I know it's a big business driver for the local community here to have that large influx of spectators to come in between hotels and restaurants and all the local business that it drives. So it'd be great to have the air show back in Rocky.
Okay, well, thank you so
We'll
very
try.
much.
So thank you. And yeah, please come for breakfast Saturday morning. We'd like to see you there.
I can't wait for pancakes.
right.
Thank you very much. So. So moving forward in the agenda, we'll go to 4.1, the adoption of the regular council meeting minutes of June 7th, 2022. And was there any additions or deletions on that agenda? Seeing none, I need a motion to accept the adoption of the previous minutes. Councillor Fraser? I so move. And so all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So 5.1, delegation of business. So we just had a delegation from the Rocky Flying Club with Neil Cook and Lenora Crane. Did we have any discussion on that delegation? Seeing none, I need a motion to adopt the delegation for information.
I'll
Yeah.
make so move that we accept it for information. Thank you.
Okay. So we're voting on to accept the delegation for information, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you very much. So old business, 6.1, the AM Fall Convention Resolution, the cannabis excise tax revenue sharing, and we'll hear from Tracy on that item.
Thank you, Your Worship. So at the last council meeting, Councillor Phillips made a resolution to instruct administration to draft a resolution to put forth at the AM conference in regards to cannabis revenue sharing. So before you is that draft resolution. So basically I'm bringing it forward for comments, any amendments, changes. I kept it simple, give a little bit of background. Template is actually obviously from the Alberta Municipalities website. So if there's anything that you would like to see changed or added or.
Councillor Phillips.
I'm really glad to see this, that it's finally, going to go to Alberta municipalities and have them potentially take this on as an action item. One question I had is, do we need to have a seconder in place now, or do we have to wait until this is approved as a resolution through Alberta municipalities?
That I'm not familiar with. That's a very good question, because basically you're just making resolution to forward this to Kathy
Yes.
and then it goes before. Like, I've never been to the conference, so I guess I'm looking for your feedback on how it works at the other end of the conference.
Well, typically when a resolution is in place, there's the motioning municipality, which in this case would be Rocky Mountain House, and then there's a second municipality that seconds the motion.
Okay,
And then once the municipality putting it forth and the seconder has made the presentation, then it becomes something that can be voted for during the conference. So that's all I was just questioning is, do we need a seconder now? Or is that something that can come after the fact? I'm just not 100% sure.
and I'm not sure either. It's something I'd have to look into, because I know we were on a tight deadline because this was actually due by the
Yes.
end of May.
Yes,
So, to move forward and send this to another municipality, I'm not sure how fast that could be done depending on.
I know when I spoke with Kathy here and the Alberta municipality's president, this was early June. And
Yeah.
I know that she had mentioned that the deadline was over, but encouraged that we put in this resolution to make sure that it comes to the fall convention. So I would think we should send this. And if we need a seconder, then we can always, I know I've spoken to many other municipalities that are quite in favor of this, so I don't think we'll have a problem getting a seconder for it.
Did you have, Counselor Phillips, did you have a list that we could like forward to so that we could say, you know, we haven't got an official seconder, but this would be a list of municipalities I've spoken with that are on the same page, like just, you know, like in case it would cover our base?
I don't know if it works that way. I don't think we can speak on behalf of other municipalities, even though I've had initial conversations. I don't think we could speak on their behalf.
No, I mean like that they could send it to those interested municipalities to see if we could find a seconder in a shorter period of time.
There-
I would think that would fall back onto us to find the seconder.
Yeah, there's no official list, like we've been all over the AM website. There's no official list. That would be nice. For people to put in the support for it, but at this time.
No, I was just wondering if Counselor Phillips had someone specifically in mind when he was.
I don't.
You know, we
I don't
talked
have-
to a million municipalities
Yeah.
at these functions. I'm just wondering if someone said we definitely support that we could. You know,
I don't have
reach
anyone that I
out.
specifically asked for a seconder to a resolution, no.
okay, no, I was just curious because sometimes you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. So what motion would you need from us to move forward then? Just that we accept this to move?
And instruct administration to forward it to Kathy Heron, the AM president.
Counselor Phillips? Do we have any more discussion before we move to that motion? Seeing none, Counselor Phillips?
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I would happily make a resolution that the town of Rocky Mountain House sends to Kathy Heron from Alberta Municipalities our resolution regarding the cannabis excise tax revenue sharing.
Thank you very much. Was there an issue with administration or?
We were just wondering whether we should put in the word seeking a seconder. But what I was going to suggest is if council approves this resolution, we'll forward it to the AUMA president and then follow up and find out what process we need to follow to get a seconder, whether we need it before or after, and then make it happen.
Okay, and do we need to put that in addition to the motion or would that cover it? With the motion on the table?
Well, if we're forwarding it to Kathy Heron already, she's gonna have feedback, because the email's gonna go out and say. Basically, we're putting this forward. Is there anything else we need to do with it? And she'll answer that. So if there's something else that we need to do, like Betty said, we'll handle it from this end. So
I think we're okay. I mean, we could add it, but I think we'll find out what we need to do.
Okay, are you comfortable or did you want to make an
No,
addition now?
no, I'm fine with the motion I made. And if we do need a seconder, I've got at least a half dozen people that I could call very quickly, and I'm sure we'd have a seconder very quickly.
Okay, fantastic. If there's no more discussion about the motion on the table, then we'll call out for a vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward in the agenda, we'll go back to Tracy. It was RFD for new pickleball court project. Yes,
Ooh, what happened there? Oh, sorry. I'm
Am I in the wrong page?
Nope, you're good. That's not me. I'm later on. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
no.
You
that's-
you
that's-
ticked, you
that's my
ticked those
fault.
on your, on my page and said it was you. That's okay. So we'll be hearing from Wes and Dean Schrader. So recreation and economic development or. Okay. Can I remind you to turn your,
Yes.
microphones on? Thank you very much.
Dean and I are going to tag team this one.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
So yeah, after the last council meeting, obviously, Mr. Kennedy attended the meeting on June 7th with a proposal to build and donate back to the town for pickleball courts, a facility on land that he currently owns in town. We've been working with Mr. Kennedy since that time. And I know more so Mr. Schwader than myself with regard to discussion about the agreement, the draft that was presented. And I believe that's still in the hands of their legal, if that's correct.
Correct. Yeah, I guess the point that I'm here today just to clarify is the point on page 4 in red. Mr. Kennedy and I discussed this as far as the naming of the court in perpetuity, but then he wants to keep it as recreational purposes in perpetuity, and we were suggesting for 25 years. I guess that's where we're here today in regards to what council wants to do moving forward in regards to in perpetuity or for 25 years. We are going to designate this property as municipal reserve lands, which means that say 25 years from now, council of the day wants to do something different with that parcel, they will have to have a public hearing in regards to the public having input in what direction that property would go forward. So that's where we're kind of just having a discussion regarding perpetuity or for 25 years. I guess it's up to council of what direction you like to go in regards to the agreement.
I would just a question because it's not included on there, and then we'll have a question from Councillor Ald or comment. There's no building permit costs or project costs associated with that. We're usually used to seeing, because it's all donation. Has he provided like building permit?
Thing is, we're in the process of doing a development permit for the four courts as
Mhm.
well as the subdivision process. So we've
Right.
started the DP presently, just so we can speed up the process. Subdivision, we can do the DP and get the courts built. Transfer of the land can happen after the fact. It's just a matter of if you like to get it going for the window of time that he's got for his contractors to get in before I guess fall or winter time happens.
Okay.
So we are started the process, and that's being covered by the town as far
Okay.
as DP costs as well as the subdivision costs as per the agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's just nice when we have a big project and we're talking about this, it's nice to know like the value of, what it would look like. So thank you very much. It's not necessary. Councillor Ald.
I was gonna say, I like the way you guys worded this for 25 years. And even Mr. Kennedy, when he was here, he did indicate that he doesn't care if it's a pickleball court down the road or if it's a basketball court. With having it designated as MR, then it leaves it open to whatever the flavor of the day is. So, and I think the 25 years doesn't hamstring anybody for the foreseeable future. So I like the way you guys worded it.
Yeah, and if I guess, when you talk about long-term and life cycle, by 25 years, you're quite likely, you're gonna be looking at some kind of maintenance program that's gonna happen similar to our existing tennis courts are now reached that time where you have to start putting some dollars in to do the maintenance and resurface it and those types of things. So 25 years certainly is well within that. The other thing that council had asked for was some ongoing maintenance costs and those types of things. So we've itemized that thanks to Rob and his staff and put together. So ongoing maintenance between staffing would include garbage pickup, the cleaning of the house, monitoring, Just day-to-day maintenance and weekly maintenance, grass cutting, those types of things. We've estimated about $4,000 a year. Plus, the rental of, a portable washroom facility, if that's the direction that Mr. Kennedy wants to go. And I believe that's sort of what his thoughts are. So you're looking at about $5,200 a year. 4,000 of that is covered staffing that we already have. So that could probably be absorbed within our existing budgets without too much concern. Future maintenance and overhead costs, obviously, life cycle replacement of the nets, the windbreak netting, those types of things, ongoing, over life, crack sealing and those types of things. But again, that would be something at that time would come forward like any other project that we'd have with the town for consideration at budget time.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any other questions that perhaps Mr. Schrader or I could?
Well, I just want to talk about the perpetuity again. So the difference between the 25-year, that phrase doesn't mean that it's got to be a pickleball court forever. It just means perpetuity. It will always be recreation area. So after 25 years, we could have the same situation like we had at the campground, Lions Park, where it could go to a process where it would be changed. And that's the difference there. Like, why wouldn't we want it to stay like a recreation area forever?
And I guess I can't answer that besides, it's municipal reserve. So at the end of the day, 25 years from now, council can decide whether they want to keep it recreation or if they want to use it as a different purpose. But at that same time, like the Centennial Campground wasn't MR. So this is designated as MR. So public, you'd have to have a public hearing in regards to residents, public voicing their opinion in regards to it, which they did through the process for Centennial Campground. But if it's for 25 years and council of the day decides to keep it recreation, they can, with an MR, they can still continue to do that. Or if they want to change it, they would have to go through the process. Or if you keep it in perpetuity, then it's recreational forever.
And so from the town's perspective, it doesn't really matter. It's a gift to the town. And it would just be that we would have to maintain some sort of a recreation area there,
Right.
even if it was like a grass field with trees in 50
Yeah,
years.
it could be a park of some sort or, a grassed area. Yeah.
I would certainly like to say it as in perpetuity. If someone gives a donation to our community and wants to be a rec area, it's a good location. There's no other parks for quite a far distance. It is sort of close to downtown, but it also would improve our downtown in the long run to always have a park there, especially if we see some changes at the school ground that's like sort of just adjacent there. That land could be sold and turned into different land use. And so I kind of would like to see it stay as in perpetuity. Does it?
And just to comment in regards to when I met with Mr. Kennedy, he was, not persistent, but he would like to see it in perpetuity. So I'm not sure if that's, I want to say a deal breaker as far as it moving forward or not, but I'm just relaying what Mr. Kennedy, his wishes are. So.
Councillor Hutchinson, did you have something?
Yeah, so he hasn't seen this wording as it sits
The way it's written?
in the red now.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, he has.
He has, yeah,
And-
the legal, I sent it to legal there last week and Brent to review as well. But then I said, we're coming to council to discuss.
And he was okay with how it was written.
As he didn't make any comments back,
Okay.
so. But at the same time, it's for discussion today. The red was what our changes were as administration. And so,
Councillor Fraser, and then we'll go to Councillor Phillips.
So I guess my concern with any sort of agreement in perpetuity is that it as time goes on, the narrative changes. And I think Centennial Park is an excellent example of that, because if you look at the original maps and you look at the original letter, the impression that even Mr. Kennedy had, that it was given in perpetuity, it was always supposed to be, the whole thing had to be used for recreation. Where the trailer court was part of that land, where all of the townhouses and where the school is part of that land. The agreement was that if the land was sold, that it would be reinvested into recreation in the town. So my concern with anything in perpetuity is once you get beyond too much far beyond 25 years, the original agreements and the original purpose of those agreements gets kind of fuzzy with, well, I was here and I heard that. I think that there needs to be an end date because things just get too fuzzy and too sticky. And then we're fettering future councils without any reason. So I think we need to have a limit on it.
Counselor Phillips?
I was, kind of along the same lines as what Counselor Fraser, whether it's 25 years or 35 years or whatever, some type of a time frame, just because perpetuity does hamstring future councils from decisions that a council 30 years ago made. That's my only concern, is that who knows what the town of Rocky is going to look like in 25, 35, 45, 50 years. Hopefully some of us will still be around then. But it does put the council of that day in a situation where maybe something is better use or better designated for that land at that time, but can't be because of a decision that was made today. So I would like to see some type of a time limit of some sort, as opposed to just perpetuity for ever and ever and ever. That's all.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Counselor Ald?
Yeah, I 100% agree with Len, and especially with it being put to MR afterwards, then the town gets to decide again at that point what that land should be used for. Maybe it's holding up development, maybe there could be all kinds of things that could be better suited for that area. But at that point, it'd be the town's decision to what to do with it. There has to be a timeline on it in my mind.
Thank you very much. So to move forward, if there's no other discussion, we would need to vote on the change, and then we would need to either keep it or not keep it. And then we would vote on the document as it is so that you can move forward. Is that?
Well, ideally, like, it's gonna take a while for the DP, and we're waiting for some drawings to come in, and that, I could go back and talk to Mr. Kennedy in regards to this is what council's deciding. Is there, and I'm not gonna ask council, is there a happy, number of years that we would like to see instead of 25? Like, I don't know if it's 35 or 30, or I'm just throwing ideas out to council in regards to what a magic number maybe could be instead of perpetuity. I don't think, I think I need to go back to Mr. Kennedy to talk about, what your decision is today to move forward.
I just want to just clarify, my question to you is, I believe he wants to move forward with the project. So would our indecision on this put any delay on moving forward with the project?
As far as our process, no.
Correct.
But as far as, the agreement being signed, I hate to see Mr. Kennedy go ahead with the project and say we can't agree on this agreement,
Okay,
which, it's kind of like the horse for the cart type stuff. Like,
Okay.
and I think we're all in good intentions with Mr. Kennedy and the town, like doing the project. But as far as, I don't know if this is a stopping point or not until I
Okay.
talk to Mr. Kennedy as far as moving forward.
okay, Miss Quinlan.
I was in the discussions with these gentlemen. And part of the issue that why we brought it back just for council opinion on this is it's almost like there's three things that we're looking at. One is he wants a pickleball court. If we write the contract to say it's going to be pickleball forever, that could cause issues down the road if, say, pickleball becomes unpopular. Two is he does want in perpetuity, should we designate it as recreational facility in perpetuity, and that way we honor that he wants it as recreation. And doesn't matter what the venue is, it could be pickleball, it could be basketball, it could be a park, it could be, whatever is popular. And two, looking at if we changed it to MR, that does enable future councils to change the use of it, but having to go through a process where you're going to have to get public input. So we're trying to find common ground between Mr. Kennedy, who is so kindly donating this, so it's much appreciated, but really trying to find something that honors his intentions, but at the same time doesn't limit future councils to, if things change, that they have some room to maneuver in. That's trying to find that clause or wording that's satisfactory to both. So our motion really does say just that you instruct administration to continue discussions. And we left it a little wide open instead of saying, well, we want this. Is we want to get what your thoughts are and where you think you would like to go with this, but then have us be able to go back and talk with Mr. Kennedy to see if we can come up with something that meets both parties' needs. So current and future, because we don't want to have discrepancies or discussions 20 years from now, 25 years from now.
Okay, thank you very much. That clarifies what we need to do today. So then if I was to just go around the room and say, we all would like to move forward with this project and we're comfortable with administration negotiating on our behalf and then coming back to us with the final resolution, something like that, to move forward with, or would you just like us to?
Yeah, we can, we can go represent council, with Mr. Kennedy and.
Do you need today to know the final? I don't want to be a deal breaker today
Right.
before we're done final discussions. Do you
No,
think the
I-
project would move forward?
I think what Mr. Swader said, we haven't heard back from Mr. Kennedy and his legal on this.
Okay.
This is what we presented to them. It's in the hands of the lawyer. So again, this was rushed, sort of getting from last council meeting to this council meeting. Some of these things take a little time. So, but you give us instruction to move forward with our ongoing discussions with Mr. Kennedy. And then once an agreement is sort of settled on, then we can bring that back for final approval by council.
Councillor Phillips, did you have a question?
No, just, looking at our alternatives. I mean, one of the alternatives is to instruct admin to go talk to Mr. Kennedy to finalize an agreement for the pickleball courts. I think that pretty much suits the flavor of what we're talking about today, is that we want the administration to continue forward. We're talking about one sentence in an agreement, so I'm sure that between admin and Mr. Kennedy, we can probably come up with some agreement on that. And again, it's fantastic that Mr. Kennedy is donating this. This is a tremendous thing that he's doing for our community.
So would that motion satisfy you to be able to move forward with the project? Okay, excellent. Councillor Phillips, did you want to make that motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that council instruct administration to continue discussions to finalize the agreement with Mr. Kennedy for the construction and donation of pickleball courts to the town of Rocky Mountain House.
Thank you very much. Seeing no more discussion, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor? And that's carried. Excellent. Thank you very much. So on to new business. The RFD for renewal of the borrowing bylaw for 54th Street Construction LOC. Hello, Mr. Simcoe. How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
Great. Your first time up at bat. Can't wait.
I know, man.
Welcome.
I'm trying not to be too nervous. So I'm the finance manager here, and I'm presenting a request for decision with respect to a borrowing bylaw. And this is a bylaw on for a line of credit, which is already drawn upon. to the effect of about 1.6 million. And it bears interest at prime plus 1%. And a previous borrowing bylaws have been passed. So one for this line of credit back to 2020, 2021. And so this bylaw is rescinding the old bylaw and replacing it with this one, where I believe there's a banking requirement to renew this bylaw annually. This line of credit is used to finance the 54th Street construction project. I believe the bylaw is a bit of a template from ATB, so it has what they require in it. And it falls under, I guess, section 257, which is short-term borrowing, which means that it does not have to be advertised and can be read 3 times at this meeting. So are there any, yes, questions or concerns?
I see none. Counselor All, did you have a question?
Nope, if there's no more discussion, I was just gonna start the readings. So council give first reading to the 54th Street Construction Project Line of Credit Borrowing Bylaw 2022/07.
Any discussion? No, so all in favor? And that's carried. Counselor Fraser,
I'd like council to give second reading to the 54th Street Construction Project Line of Credit Borrowing Bylaw 2022/07.
perfect, all in favor of that? And that's carried, thank you very much. Now, normally we would have a different meeting, but because it's just a financial renewal of a mortgage, we will carry on to the third and final reading. Counselor Ald,
You have to give unanimous consent to proceed to the third reading to the 54th Street Construction Product Line of Credit Borrowing Bylaw 2022/07.
thank you very much, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Does someone might want to make the final motion, Counselor Phillips?
I'll make a motion that council give third and final reading to the 54th Street Construction Project Line of Credit Borrowing Bylaw 2022/07.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that? And that's carried. Yay, we can continue on at the bank. Great job. So moving forward in our agenda, the borrowing bylaw for the the wastewater treatment plant. Ms. Quinlan, did you want to speak about that?
Yes, thank you, your worship and council. So we have another borrowing bylaw before you. This one is for the wastewater treatment plant. That project is a $27 million project, and there's 4 sources of funding for it. We're using debentures, a significant portion of grants, which is 20 million, reserves and other contributions, which consists of the contribution from Clearwater County for sort of their usage of the facility. So this bylaw, and my apologies, we did have to send you an updated copy. We made a couple changes and I don't like doing that, so my apologies. But it will need to be advertised. So this borrowing bylaw is setting out that we will borrow up to 4.8 million for a period of 25 years. It is following the standard template that the ACFA gives us. It won't be drawn on until we need the funds, and we will only be drawing as we need them. So if, say, the project comes in under budget, we would not draw on the bylaw. Hopefully with supply chain issues, we don't end up having to come back, knock on wood. But we need to get this in place so that we can have the borrowing approved for September 15th. The other item is the one change that we did make that I had looked at it when I first saw it, is we changed it to say that the funds necessary for paying this debenture will come out of the water and wastewater flat rates, and that's transferred to capital every year because we want utilities to be self-funding. And so those fees need to come out of there. So with that, we're asking for first reading, and then we'll advertise it for 2 weeks, and then we'll bring it back for second and third if there's no petitions from the public.
I had a question on that because that was like number 4 on page 2, right?
Right.
Municipalities shall raise funds. So does that mean that our rates would have to increase in order to cover this debenture? Like, why wouldn't it be considered a capital project? Because it's a utility?
Well,
But
it is a capital project, but it's a utility capital project. So we try to fund all the utility long-term infrastructure out of the utility reserves. Right now, our transfer to capital for wastewater is about 535,000. And we're looking at the payment right now is going to be about 331,000. It's actually, the interest rate went up in the last week, so now it's at 5.08. So we have enough money going into reserves to not have to increase water and sewer rates. And so the increase you saw a couple of years ago was done on purpose because you want to make sure you've got sufficient funds. So they may have to see an increase in the future as costs increase, but for now we are good.
And so when you look at that, how far out do you forecast that? Like, that's based on the interest rates, right? The Canada Bank of Interest Rates for the,
Well, it's municipal affairs now that issues these loans. Once we draw the loan, the interest rate will be set. So we might want to draw in September. We might want to draw $10,000 in September just to lock it in, unless we think it's going to go down.
yeah.
But we do the 10-year capital plan. And when we do that plan, that's when we make sure all the reserves at the end of 10 years will have sufficient balances, because we don't want to impede the people that will be sitting around the table in 10 years. So right now we have sufficient funds.
Excellent. Thank you for answering those questions. I appreciate it. Have any other questions about this bylaw change? Councillor Capero?
If no further question or discussion, I will make a motion that council give first reading to bylaw 2022/08, being a bylaw to authorize the town of Rocky Mountain House to borrow 4.8 million for the construction of the regional wastewater treatment facility.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
And so you'll do the advertising now, right? Perfect. Before any further reading. So moving forward, we're at 7.3, the RFD for Curtis Field Light Project.
Good afternoon, once again, Mayor and Council. So this is the first of 3 RFDs I bring to you today. Well, actually second of 4. So, yeah, so this is just an update. Councillor Auld had asked administration to bring back a report on the progress and some information about the lighting of the Curtis Field. Yeah, so we've been meeting. Well, let's go back to sort of the total project cost was estimated at $275,000. That was in our budget that was approved. The Rocky Mountain Football Association had committed $25,000 to the project. They did receive a successful CFAP grant for $112,000, and the town and Clearwater County both approved $62,500 in their capital budgets for 2022. And the Minor Football Association will be the funding agent for the project, and the town and county providing a portion of the funding to the football club. Administration has met with the Rodwell School Division, discuss ongoing operating and maintenance costs related to the project. So there's been a couple of meetings, so actually several meetings with the 4 parties involved, with the football club, the Rodwell School Division, their contractor, Mr. Turner from Cinex, and myself. Just they're getting the ball rolling. They're working on engineering requirements for the standards, the poles. I know they're waiting to place that order because right now the cost of steel, and the companies won't even give them a quote if it's not happening right now, just because of the volatility happening in there. So just wanted to give council that information. So the football club and the electrician are working on getting those pricings nailed down. The other consideration that has come up in our discussions is about lighting up the oval. The football field lighting is directional, which focus just on the field itself, not necessarily the oval. So they've talked about, well, if we add a few extra lights, we can light up the oval at the same time and perhaps even put a light that will direct toward the skate park or toward the practice fields. But those are outside the original scope of this project. So one of the things we're looking at is the current lighting of the oval is done through there's 6 streetlights that are part of the town streetlight budget. You know, we've got 6 streetlights there out of total of 896 streetlights within town. You know, working with Fortis, we've come up with an average cost of about $40 a month per light. And then that works out to about $2,900 a year for the cost of those 6 lights to run and light up the oval. So by adding other lights and getting rid of the street lights, we probably save some money. And those street light or the lights on in connection with the project would be on timers and wouldn't have to run all night long. So there'd probably be a little bit of cost savings that we could realize. The other concern raised by the Wildrose School Division is that the ongoing operating and maintenance costs, they're not in a financial position to handle that type of expense. Their concerns is keeping teachers in the classrooms and those types of things. And they've indicated that really the use that the schools would use of the lights is probably minimal. When the project was first brought forward in 2018, they provided a letter of support like they've done, you know, with other projects happening on school property, i.e. the skate park and the spray park, which become sort of town projects the town is looking at for the ongoing maintenance and the life cycle replacement of those amenities. The part of our discussion with the school division is that, you know, if the town does that, we could come up with another facility maintenance agreement similar to what we already have in place and factor that in. The original design of the lighting project was to tie in the power coming from the spray park. That was accommodated, so we have enough power going into the spray park building. We would add another meter there and we would tie in power from that building. So we wouldn't have to have a second new account for that. We would do a secondary meter where we could, you know, track the exact usage of power for the lights coming from there. But then again, that sort of, again, ties the town into another facility, which is on school property. So a little bit of agreements that have to be worked out. But I don't think that's a real issue doing that. So the future maintenance of the football field lighting and talking to my counterparts in the area that have lights on their football field, once they're put up, you know, the lights themselves have a 50,000 hour warranty on those. The ongoing maintenance, you have to do, you know, annual inspections of the posts and those types of things. But really the ongoing maintenance is really minimal, at least in the near future. You know, 20 years from now, 15 years from now, when it comes time to look at a replacement, it would be dealt with as another capital project. And again, talking with the partners, whether it's the county or not, to cost share those types of things like they've done with the existing project. So just bring this report forward to give you that update if you have any questions. But hopefully that satisfies your question, Councillor Auld. So I've provided with alternatives. I know the football club is anxious to carry on and hopefully get, you know, boots to the ground. They've got some possible in-kind donations for the engineering, the surveying, some of those other things, which help with some alleviating some of the financial dollars. But
Well, I'm really excited about the project. It'd be nice to have lights on the oval, and I'm just even thinking like for that track for different events, like, I mean, to have it lit up like properly at night, we could have like marathon races and different things. I mean, we're coming out of COVID, so nobody's thought about what we could do lately, but yeah, it was well used for track and field. So I'd like to start by make the motion. Be it resolved that council instruct administration to move forward with an agreement with the Wild Rose School Division for the construction and maintenance of the lights on Curtis Field. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.
One down.
Excellent.
The second RFD is related to the Aquatic Center HVAC project. And we're requesting a change of scope. We did a request for proposals related to the recommendations that were identified in the scoping audit that was completed in February of this year. Proposals went out, and what we found from the proponents that responded to the RFP is that there wasn't enough detail in the scoping audit as far as the design of the HVAC systems. You know, a couple of the proponents that we met on site and discussed with suggested that a detailed design of the mechanical systems needs to be completed before we can actually get a more accurate assessment of costs. And so what I've coming, well, and I'm part of that too, is our overall budget was 400,000. Clearwater County and the town were contributing 105,000 with 190 to come from potential grants. That grant program is oversubscribed, which means that, you know,
No
we
money.
could get on a waiting list, but again, that it's not there. What I'm proposing today is do a change of scope that will allow us to complete the engineering this year. And then we can go back and come back at budget time with more detailed costing. And then it'll be up for budget discussions for 2023. And working with Ms. Quinlan, you know, the suggestion is the balance of the budget that we have set aside this year will go back into reserves. And then that would be used for 2023 if that's was council's decision to move forward with this project at that time.
And that's those big machines upstairs in the attic.
Yeah, you know, basically all of the old HVAC units that were constructed in the Nova Scotia shipyards and back in the day that have, you know, lived their life expectancy.
Yeah,
So
okay. Just visualizing being up in that little space, which machines.
well, again, and one of the grants they most recently found about it was one called the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Grant. It's a federal program. They're still accepting grant applications. But until we have a more detailed budget, it's hard to apply for those types of grants without that information. So I think it's prudent for us to take a step back, get the detailed engineering done, and then have a more structured plan going forward.
Did we have any questions or comments for Wes on this item? Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Hutchinson,
I'd like to make a motion that council approve the change of scope for the Aquatic Center HVAC upgrade project and allocate 20,000 for detailed engineering and design to be completed in 2022.
all in favor? Sorry, it was, that's carried.
Thank you.
I read that you did the alternative instead of the recommended one.
I think they're both the same.
Okay, well, that's what I was stuck on. I'm like, did she just read the alternative or the first one? Got it. Perfect. That's carried.
Okay, and the
7.5.
the third RFD has to do with graduation support for the 2022 grad class. We've been receiving communication from the principal at the West Central High School since February, when she first contacted me and let me know their parade date, which is on June the 29th at 4 p.m. That's on a Wednesday. And they were asking for the town to provide similar support as what we've done in the last couple of years. So we're a little late bringing this to council since the parade is next week, but yeah, so again, just bringing this to council. Again, we would look at providing support to the graduates through advertising and promotion on our website and social media just about their parade. The parade route will be the same as it was in the last 2 years. There was a request for that the town provide a car and perhaps you need counselors that would like to participate in the parade. And the town staff assist with setting up and removing of barricades along the parade route, which we've done in the last couple of years. And I don't believe that that's been a real issue for our manpower to get that done. And then again, the insurance is covered under the town's insurance, and they've got a whole process where every participant in the parade must have their registration and insurance for their vehicles, and they'll have all that proof, and they'll gather all that stuff for us to meet the insurance requirements.
Anybody have any questions or concerns? No, would someone like to make the motion? Counselor Fraser,
I would like to move that council support the 2022 high school graduation recognition through the website and social media communication.
all in favor? And that's carried. Did you want to make a second motion for the parade?
I will move that council instruct administration to assist in the planning of the 2022 graduation parade on Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. Including that the town vehicle join the parade, provide the insurance required to put on the parade, and staff support with setting up and removing barricades along the parade route.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And that's carried. Just before we go, is there anybody available on that day? I think, Dave, you actually have a student that's graduating, right? Yeah, so is there anybody else available? I have, I cannot attend anything on that day other than what I'm already got going on. Yeah. Yeah. So the reason I'm asking is if now would be a good time to ask if administration would have someone that could drive the town vehicle or something like that. How would you want to move forward, Tracy?
All the directors and all accounts are committed that morning.
This is at 4.
This is at 4. Okay, well then. You guys are only committed till about 1:30, so.
Yeah. I have other commitments on top. Is there anybody that? Okay, would it be possible to find, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that I will check my schedule and then I'll just send an email.
Okay,
if
perfect.
I'm able to go.
Perfect. Otherwise, I'd just like to give administration time if we wanted to see if there's someone, you know, an employee somewhere that could.
I'm sure that if the counselor is not available, that we could have one of our, I could probably myself drive the car. If
Okay.
nobody else is
I just,
available.
because it's next week. Just like to give notice if we have to
Yeah.
find a driver, right? Okay, thank you very much. So moving forward on the agenda, we'll do 7.6, a library appointments.
Thank you, your worship and council. So I received a call last week from the Public Library Services branch of the Government of Alberta. They made us aware of the appointments of the 4 people listed in the RFD that are not properly appointed nor legally protected if the board is ever sued. So I'm bringing forth this RFD today to rectify this and basically to be compliant with the Libraries Act. So moving forward, I'm going to recommend that council appoint these members in the same way as council appoints other members of the board, as we did last fall. So basically, this is just housekeeping. So
Okay. So we'll just move forward with the motion unless there's any discussion. Seeing none, just to move forward, be it resolved that council appoint the following public members to the Rocky Mountain House Library Board. Karen Tavis, from June 21st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Mike Stanix from June 21st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. Karen Malhoff from June 21st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024. Are those dates right? Okay, sorry, dumb question. And Michelle Swanson from June 21st, 2022 to October 25th, 2022.
So I didn't change any of the existing end dates.
Okay, just the
because-
start date.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was like, they should all be the same. I got it now.
No, actually, you want to layer them.
All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence from for action, the town of Bentley Annual Parade Invitation 8.1. So the town of Bentley has invited me and town council, so us, to their annual fair days, which is August 4th to 7th. And then there is specifically a community pancake breakfast on, a luncheon from 11:30 with a parade to follow at 1 if you plan on attending. So the luncheon would be provided for all of us if we wanted to attend. So August 4th is a Thursday. And then we could just RSVP. So I haven't said anything because we're trying to put so many dates together right now for ICCs and things like that, that a Thursday in August, I didn't want to commit to yet myself, because we don't know what's like, we're trying to find dates for so many things right now, like ICC for airport. And, I'm sure when Mr. Kraus gets back from his holidays, he'll have a plethora of other things that he wants to focus back on again, right? Does anyone feel really strongly about going, or can we wait a little while? Does it say? I didn't read when we need to know by. Yeah, so that's Wednesday next week. They want to know by. Sorry, a month. So do we want to have discussion on it now, or can we bring it back up at a later date? Yeah. Yeah, so Tracy, would you add that to a discussion for whatever council meeting runs right before the 27th of July? July 5th? Okay. Does that sound fair? Okay, so then there is the same thing, but a different day.
Can we get a resolution to move that to the next meeting? For the July 5th meeting?
Yes. It's July, oh yeah, because, yeah. Would the 19th not be okay? Yeah, let's move it to the 19th because it's closer to what we have going on, right? Does that sound fair? So I'll make a motion to move that item to the July 19th meeting. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. I was thinking Rimby was this weekend and it's not. So Friday, July 8th is the Rimby Rodeo Weekend Parade at 11 o'clock. And then they have lots of activities and we're all invited to that. Is anybody interested? Like, it's not anything specific that they're inviting us for, like Bentley was for the luncheon, right? But this is just like, does anybody want to go to the parade? Is anybody interested in formally? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, a complimentary lunch. There is a lunch following the parade. Is anybody interested in attending that? I'm booked on something. I just don't know. I don't have my day timer.
Well, I was just curious as to typically in the past with all these parade invites, how has that process worked? Because it's.
Yeah, it's typically whoever can make it, and then typically the town vehicle is what's driven in that parade. So, but it's dependent on council's schedules.
Okay, so we'll just, if anyone is able to go, send an email to Tracy and book the car. Does that sound fair to move forward? So we will accept the invitation for information. Does that work for you, Tracy? Okay, so I'll put a motion to accept the Town of Rimby Annual Rodeo Weekend Parade invitation for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving on to number 9, is there any items that anybody would like to discuss in the correspondence for information? Seeing none, need a motion. Counselor Ald,
The motion to accept 9.1 to 9.10 is information.
thank you very much. All in favor? And that's carried. So seeing it's 2:25, we'll take a 10-minute recess and reconvene with administrative reports after that. Good afternoon. So we'll continue with the meeting for June 21st, 2022. And we're at 10.1, the CAO report, and we have Betty Quinlan to deliver that to us today.
Since I didn't actually write it, I will just take questions, and if I can answer them, I will. Otherwise, we'll hold them till next meeting.
Yes, Laura.
Thank you, Mayor. There are just a couple of items in my report, which is embedded in the CAO's office report that I wanted to chat to council about. First of
Okay.
all, if I may.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Is the Alberta Japan Twin Municipalities Association AGM and conference that I had the privilege to attend on your behalf earlier this month. There's a full write-up in my report as well as photos from that. So thank you for granting me your proxy to attend. It was great. And also kick it to the curb. So the report was drafted before that happened on the weekend. And feedback I saw and participation was good. I had low expectations for participation simply because it was a first initiative. But when I got out and was driving around town, I was really pleased with the number of people who were involved, as well as those who were posting on social media for it. So I just wanted to thank council for their initiative to make that happen this year, because that was cool. And we have another one scheduled for September 17th and 18th.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for attending that Japan conference. I love the picture of you with the big bell. That was awesome. And I really appreciate bringing it back in the information. Do you know when the local meeting is going to reconvene?
That I do not know.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And kick it to the curb. Yes, great job. It was so amazing. I think just about every third house had a garage sale in combination with that. And it was just like, it was amazing. I'm like, because driving around in the morning, I'm like, why is there so many garage sales today? And it was so great to see that people did that in combination with kick to the curb. So great. Councillor Fraser.
I was just going to share that I was contacted by a resident who actually wanted more time and more days and more weekends added. So
Yeah.
I know that Red Deer does it every weekend or
Once a month, I believe.
once a month. So I think it was well received, and it'd be neat to see if we can expand it in the future.
Well, actually, with that being said, because we already have all the documentation, could we do sort of like just a Facebook and then just like low cost advertising for like, say, July 17th, and because our September's is which day is our September one?
September 17th and 18th was the date selected by council.
So if we kept, July 17th and August 17th, then it would be consistently the 17th for the next. Could we do that without any cost?
The 17th is not always a weekend. Yeah, so that would.
That's not rodeo. That's not Chuck Wagons, right? That's the 23rd.
I mean, there's certainly nothing stopping people from simply setting stuff out at their curb with a free sign marked. I guess it's a discussion for council whether you want to increase that service in terms of pumping out the information.
I think if we did let the community members just do it randomly, you're going to have like a garbage issue. Like you're going to complain about your neighbors, blah, 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 sitting by the curb, right? Do we want to discuss? Do we want to have a discussion to move that to two more? Like, it's just 2 more weekends, one in July and one in August. Is there any? Because that would fit into what you said, right? Councillor Phillips and then Councillor Hutchinson.
So when we originally did this, we did June and September to kind of avoid the July and August period when everybody's gone away on holidays and not as many people are home, as a test, kind of a test to see how that would work initially. I don't know if we need to add more dates this year, but maybe it's something we can look at for next year and put it as part of our, it obviously requires more time of Miss Button to do more events. So I think that may be a service level question, but I know that we originally did it as a test for June and September because they were the non-summer vacation months.
Counselor Hutchinson.
That is exactly what I was gonna say. Just
Okay.
keep it for this year and see how it goes for the next one and then look at reviewing more often for next year.
Perfect. Did you have a question for Ms. Button or the CEO?
I didn't have a question, just on the CAO report. I just wanted to comment. Mr. Kraus is our Deputy of Director of Emergency Management. I say that straight. And I just wanted to point out that the fire that happened at Buster Creek, that the town of Rocky Mountain House's emergency plan was kicked in. Everything went very smoothly and happened the way it should happen during any emergency. Although this one didn't require a lot of things, had it been a big emergency, the town would have been prepared. So I just wanted to thank, not only Dean, but all the staff that made that happen and made, what could have been a potential disaster, would have made everybody safe.
Yeah, it was scary. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to accept the CEO report for information. Seeing none, call that to a vote. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving on to 10.2 department reports.
Good afternoon once again. So for my report through to the end of May, busy managing our capital projects. Happy to say that the arena safety netting project, our bunch arena is complete. We'll be wrapping up the netting on the quick lane here in conjunction with the replacement of the heat tubes in the bunch arena. The quick lane header replacement project, they're just pumping brine back into the system today. They'll be pressure testing it and then that project will be complete. So we're happy that that's gone off without any unforeseen issues. The renovations to the referee room and the bunch hallway, they're just doing some final painting. That project is wrapping up very well as well. Just, some of the highlights. On May 6th, I met with along with our parks staff, met with the president of Minor Ball, and they have given a donation of $16,000 actually from the Slow Pitch Association. If you've been by the ball diamonds, you'll notice the new 10-foot high fence on diamond number 1. That's largely funded by the Slow Pitch Association, and then we'll be continuing on with some renovations to a couple of the backstops later this season that didn't impact the ongoing season. So it's good to see that we have that support from our minor sports organizations and giving towards the improvements to the facilities down there. By all accounts, the Rocky Rodeo was a success. They had one issue with rain and the sloppy infield, which caused cancellation of the pony chucks on the first night. But I believe by all accounts, when our staff did a final walkthrough with RASA, nothing but positive things to say. So we're happy to.
If I can give you some positive comments. I talked to the president a couple of times throughout the weekend, and she said the staff that you had working on the grounds were just fantastic to work for. They just did everything they could to help get things ready, and that there was definitely no fault of the staff for Thursday night. It was just the grounds need a little bit of different earthwork, but it had nothing to do with the wonderful staff. Janet Strom, she was so emphatic about how wonderful your staff worked so hard. I can't think of the lady that ran the machine's name now, but if you could for sure give the information back to her that she said nothing but accolades to her hard work to get that
Yep.
up and going and helpful.
Very good. We'll pass those comments
Yeah.
on. And obviously, we're preparing for some of our other major events coming up with the Ochese First Nation Indian National Final Rodeo and Indian Relays coming up here, the July long weekend. That weekend's gonna be super busy because the recreation center is booked with a trappers convention. And so,
And it's a huge deal. Their rendezvous, it's all across Canada.
Yep.
It's usually they just have the Alberta trappers, and this is like trappers from all across Canada are coming to Rocky. So that's so amazing.
yeah, so we're looking forward to hosting them here as well. The summer is sort of coming together with other special events. We've got the wrestling camp, the volleyball Alberta camps. So bringing people, the sport tourism is really looking good and busy, and both those groups are looking to be repeat and coming back year on year. So it's very positive for our community there. What else did I have highlighted? I think that is sort of the highlights, unless council has any particular questions for me. Okay, thank you.
So we'll hear from engineering and operations now.
Good afternoon. It's been a little bit, a while since I've been here last. Just
Yeah.
a few highlights on what we've got going with our capital projects. Almost everything from last year is being wrapped up, should be dealt with in the next month or so. Minor stuff, landscaping, silt fencing, whatnot. We did have a huge rain event a week ago. I'd like to touch base on that a little bit. It was probably one of the biggest ones we've had in how long, Sean?
So it was 1986 since we had a single day rainfall like that. So that's the most rainfall we've had in a single day event. It overwhelmed our system. It wasn't just local to 54th Street. It was the entire pond as well. It did function somewhat how it was supposed to. It should take a larger rainfall event for that to occur, but the flooding is designed to take place in the roadway where this houses are working. So everything did function as it is. Also, since that time, we've made some incremental improvements both to the pond and the intake system to sort of buff it up. So, it's a larger rainfall event before that. There's again, and at the end of the day, it was close to 5 hours. So this is a minor event overall, and again, it's intended to. Sorry for not being owned by the mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, any questions for me?
Just before you go, I just want to say welcome back. It's really nice to see you
Thank you.
back in the department again, and I'm really happy to see that you're back on
Yes,
working for the town, and
Thank you.
thank you so much for your coming back and your hard work.
thank you.
Counselor Phillips.
I didn't have a question. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's just, welcome back, Rob. It's good to see you back in that chair.
Thank you.
Okay, so, well, thank you very much. Looks like we don't have very many questions for you this afternoon with your report. Have a
That's
great.
one thing you'll notice with my reports is I'm short and sweet, so.
That's
Always have been.
perfect. We'll hear from planning and community development now with Mr. Schrader.
Welcome back. Just a few highlights for my department. Clean Energy Improvement Program, we had 17 applications so far. You see the numbers there. We're in the process of signing 2 more this week, and there's 5 more pre-qualifications, so we will have 10 in total so far. There is some bylaws that my senior development officer will be bringing to council on July 5th for approval. We have met with the Rocky Mountain House Health Center engineer. They're doing expansion there for new operation building in the back there. So we're just kind of finalizing some engineering details with them. They still have to take a building permit out for that as well. As well as we did, council members and administration met with a landowner on the north end of town just to discuss what they could do with that property as well. So thank you, council, for attending that meeting. Just a brighter note is my development officer and senior development officer has received their NACLA level 2, and the other one got their diploma in applied land use planning program. So which benefits our community as well, because they're that much more knowledgeable in the process and procedures that's required. Under economic development and tourism, EDO is working with the county as well as the Chamber of Commerce for a new summer program called Love Local Selfie. We're encouraging people to take selfies in front of stores, post them on Instagram, and then they have the chance to win gift certificates for participating businesses. Canada Day planning, July 1st, of course, will be at the National Historic Site. Fireworks, they are doing a joint effort between the Canada Day Committee and the Indigenous Pro Rodeo. They're pooling their funds to make the show that much bigger and better. That will be at the North Saskatchewan River Park for the fireworks that evening. My EDO did a presentation to the Rocky Credit Union for the strat plan, economic development strategy plan, as well as a supply chain analysis, which is good to see that Jeff or the EDO is out working with local businesses. Market starts this Thursday. Hopefully the weather's going to cooperate. Doesn't look very good for the weather presently, but rain or shine, we're still a go. We have roughly 50 vendors, which is nice to see as well for the number of participants that will be at the market on Main. There's live music as well. It starts at 6 o'clock that evening. So as well as the EDO was at the West Central Stakeholders Trade Fair Show, which was on June 2nd. We did have a booth there to showcase the community.
That was in Leslieville?
Yeah.
How did it go? Because
He
we
said it
were
was
gone.
okay.
Like,
Yeah, there was people coming through or whatever. A lot of rural residents like from the county area, but there's always an opportunity for us to showcase our community as there as well.
Great.
So, yep.
thank you.
For under health and safety, just regarding our auditors, we have 3 certified auditors within our organization. One is still have to be certified. He's just in the process of doing that. So we'll have 4. So we have 3 presently on staff, and we do have our audit on August 22nd for our certificate of recognition through for the safety audit. Protective services. Just quickly here, we had 112 files in the month of May. 85 files were municipal, 10 provincial, and 10 were assisting other agencies. We did issue 88 violation tickets and 39 traffic warnings. Total fine was almost $23,000 for the month of May. Also, I'll bring your attention to the bottom, May 26th to 31st. The officers participated in 4 joint force operations with other agencies through the community. And Officer Whistle was requested by RCMP to attend a presentation at the Ochies First Nation school in regards to how she got into law enforcement. So a nice little joint effort between us and the RCMP and the First Nations of the area. Any questions in regards to my department?
I had a little question.
Yep.
With our beautiful advertising video,
Mhm.
one of the businesses I've seen now is no longer in business and they're
Oh.
selling their building.
Okay.
Is that something we can edit on that?
Oh, we can
video?
always edit. That's not an issue. Maybe it's after the meeting. Maybe you just tell me which building.
Okay,
business it
yeah, I
is.
wasn't sure
Yeah,
if
then
it's
we can-
something that's
Sure.
like in
Yep.
stone or it could be addressed.
Sure.
Because I just thought we don't want to advertise that and then people have the expectation and then,
Fair enough.
yeah, Counselor Phillips.
I just had a quick question in regards to the SEAT program. Are those agreements registered on title for those properties?
Oh, they will be,
They
yes.
will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for, okay, well, thank you very much. So following planning and community development, we have corporate services. Mr. Simcoe, 2 is your lucky day. You did so good on the first one. This one's going to be a breeze.
I hope so. So I'll give Betty's report today. I think I'm familiar with most of the items that are described here. So the first one deals with an award the town's gotten before for financial reporting. So the deadline for that was, or is the end of June, but we requested an extension. And so the plan is to submit and apply for that award again this year. There is a new summer student working at the front desk as well, and I think they seem to be fitting in really well. And they're learning the systems and helping out as well. And as I mentioned, is providing some relief in accounts receivable. As I think one of the staff is going to be away. And I would say she's also training me in some of the financial systems as well. So with respect to property taxes and the bylaw that council reviewed in June, the tax notices have been sent out and it's been advertised, that's been advertised in the paper as well, and its payments are due at the end of July, so July 31st. We've completed and submitted the statistical information report, which is a report required by municipal affairs about that requests various statistical information about the town, mainly non-financial information. And so we've completed that and it's been submitted. With respect to the audit, to complete that, there's still some work to deal with Clearwater County and getting some information. And so I think once that's received, we'll be able to finish the financial statements and the audit as well. I know Betty's been doing some work with Questica, which is the budgeting software that we use to input or import some actual information into that software as well. Number 7, I'm not super familiar with, but it sounds like we're doing some project management work with.
Maybe if I just interject, it was approved during the budget to do that sort of feasibility study. A little late getting it started because of year end, but we are starting it. And I don't know if council is aware, but with the rain, the ceiling tiles in Louise's office collapsed. So we had a little flood, but they're working on fixing the roof, and right now she's not able to work in her office, so we're getting it fixed as quick as we can. But it kind of tells me that this study is probably a good idea. So yeah, we're working on it.
Thank you.
And number 8 refers to a grant that's been received and used over a number of years that is wrapping up. And there's some final reporting that we're submitting with respect to that grant.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Simcoe for corporate services? Well, thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.
So I guess I'd like to see a motion for information for the department reports. Would anybody like to give that? Counselor Fraser,
I so move.
all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So on the action list, 11.1, maybe we'll just see if there's anything we need to add or change. Betty, is there anything that you wanted to bring to our attention? No, okay. Did any counselors have any questions or comments on the action list? Counselor Hutchinson?
Just a comment on the recreation master plan matrix. We have completed the matrix, but it'll be September before it comes back to council to review.
Is that because it goes to another process?
No, we don't.
It'll go to the rec board first in September, then it'll come back.
And we don't, rec board doesn't meet throughout, our next meeting's not till September
Okay.
for the summer months.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept for information the action list on 11.1. All in favor? And that's carried. I have two administrative inquiries. So I attended the rodeo on the weekend and it was fantastic. Like I said, they said great job on, but something I noticed personally, and I know our initiatives we've been doing with the town, it was recycling. And I know I saw you there as well. And Shane was there on Friday, you were there on Saturday. And so they had these great big, lovely, fantastic bins for garbage. There's no recycling. And so beer cans, liquor cans, like from the beer gardens, pop bottles, water bottles, all got put in with the trash. And so I'm just wondering if my inquiry is there a way that we could provide recycling containers for like big sort of temporary blue bins on site? Or is it in any of our plans for the future? Because those green things are amazing and they have to be bear proof, right?
Yeah.
So is there a way? And the other thing is to have garbage cans the same, like, the ones that are on the corner of the school where it has like a bin for blue stuff and a bin for garbage, that to be outside of the gates would be handy because it was really hard to find a garbage. And so I don't know if that's a budget thing or, but I'm just thinking there's gonna be a huge event.
Just to comment on that, and I was made aware of it before the meeting, so I have followed up on it.
Okay,
Mr. Shanks might have some comments, but I think there are some recycling, but we will certainly make an effort for the larger events to make sure there's recycling. And I know I might be stealing his thunder here, but I know we do get a grant every year to buy more and more bear-proof bins that we do. Every year we get the grant and then we keep adding. So with that, I'll let Mr. Shanks carry on.
So part of the process with the NSRP over the last year, and it was Jocelyn that did all the footwork out there and made it a fabulous place to be.
Jocelyn, yes.
Yes. She did mention as far as garbage containers and whatnot, as far as the recycle bins, there was an organization that went out and they were collecting all the bottles. So they had bags on the fences and whatnot, because it's easier for them to collect it there from out of the barrels. That being said, we have 12 containers that are going to be placed before the next event.
Okay.
And they won't, half of them won't stay there because we do use them at the ball diamonds and at the football fields
Great.
and whatnot. And it might be a little bit of a waste to have it just sitting there not being utilized out there.
Yeah, even if it's just for the next
Yep.
event that comes up, because those green ones were fantastic. If we had blue ones beside it, it would be, I cringe when people throw away a water bottle into a garbage can and no one's going to go through half-eaten fries and gravies and bannock burgers
Yes.
to separate that.
And that brings up another point with the containers that we've been getting these grants for. We brought in another 8, I believe it was this year. So the combi units, like what you see out front of the town hall here. So what we've been doing with those is taking out the old ones, the green ones, and we have some of the old style combi units, the old ugly green ones, and we actually shipped them out to a local business that has sandblasted them and is going to paint them town colors. So the
Okay.
dark blue, and they are the combi unit. So garbage one side, recycling on the other.
Okay.
There is 5 of those. They will be right out front of the grandstands. So they
Okay,
should be utilized. And then on top of that, we will be using the ones from the Master Games that were donated a few years ago.
okay, awesome. Because the containers are really close to the right size, but it just needs like a barrel or something beside it for recycling, because I think people would, choose to separate stuff out. And I got a couple comments from just spectators. So thank you so much for
Yes.
already being like on top of that.
And being
That's
labeled.
fantastic.
And being labeled, everything will be labeled moving
Okay.
forward. So there's no confusion on what is what out there. So
Perfect.
this is what we're kind of working on.
Yeah. Because I actually don't mind those big, huge green ones because they've filled up like.
Yep.
They were getting filled by, I don't know how often they changed them. out there.
not often enough because it was overflowing onto the ground, and that was kind of
Oh,
part
okay.
of the issue we can talk about. Come service levels at the end of the year.
Okay.
So
Is that
it was
looked
all up
after?
to the
Yeah,
volunteers to do, and
yeah,
volunteers are hard to find nowadays, so.
yes. Well, and of course, they only fill up when you're busy.
Yeah.
They're not empty at the beginning of the day. I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean,
Yeah.
it's already overflowed, right? Like
Yeah,
they're
if they
only-
could be done during, after each event, which is usually 2 hours, that issue wouldn't have happened. But like I said, it's
Yeah.
hard for them to get volunteers
Yeah.
now, and they did the best they could, and I think they did a great job. out there.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. I'm like, we need to provide some sort of bin, so that's great. And maybe you could help me with my next question. So this morning I was just up at the Curtis Field, and I know that the 3 bathrooms there are donated for the football field students or team or whatever, and they're usually locked. But I know that the St. Matt's School, when they had their track and field days, they are all open and they've been used. So they're using them. Like community members are using them when they did Indigenous days. They
Mhm.
used them today. And one of the ladies come up to me and said, those bathrooms are really filthy. So I'm like, I texted the football, someone I know that's on the football team, and she said, well, they're donated, and could the town help out, or how does that work? Like, do we have we made any sort of agreement about those? Is that a West question? Oh, I'm
That's the next
sorry.
question.
No, yeah.
I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
Again, Jocelyn and I have been talking about it, and I kind of directed her one way, and that was not to get involved with private private agreement or whatever. Because
Yeah.
if something happens, that comes back on the town.
right.
These units were full before the Indigenous days began.
Well, I know they're supposed to be locked all the time. And I know they were all open for track and field,
Yeah.
which was at least a month. I don't know when it was. It was
Couple-
not in the last 10
couple weeks
days.
ago anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so,
so the porta potties that are on site there at the Curtis Field and the practice field are part of the Rocky Minor Football Association makes arrangements for them, and they look after the contractor to service them, right? So, and I guess they're usually locked. They must have made arrangements with the school to use during their track meet event. Really, they probably should have been taken away because football season, their program is done, right? So
yeah,
there's-
yeah, it'll be
there's-
done here.
There's a little bit of confusion again with the Indigenous activities that were happening out there today. You know, it didn't get communicated, well, that those porta potties weren't part of town stuff, so we were directing people come into the recreation center to use the washrooms
Right,
as opposed to
right.
that. So we're making a point, and now any other bookings will be told if you need extra porta potties, it's incumbent on your organization to make that arrangement yourself, or you're welcome to
Yeah.
use those porta potties or the Legion washrooms, the other ones that are in the area.
Okay, I just was, like, someone asked me to check on it, and I'm like, I'm gonna have a meeting this afternoon. I know the exact people to ask
Yeah.
about.
No,
And I
we
did
had that,
text her from football, and they should have got picked up after our last practice, but our insurance still goes till the 1st. Well, the player insurance, so maybe or maybe there's a confusion,
yeah.
but
no,
they're also aware of it now too, because like I said, I texted her right from the field, but I didn't know. I'm like, I have a meeting this afternoon. I will ask what.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a little late, and there was phone calls made to see if they could get them emptied, but you can't do that when there are people there.
Yeah,
Right, so it was, I told Jocelyn, we just need to get some locks on it and.
Yeah.
get the people where they need to go.
and you know what it is with little people.
Yep.
They
Now.
don't tell you, when they get asked, they have to go to the bathroom. They tell you 2 minutes before it's an emergency. Or not even that long. So thank you very much for answering those questions. I really appreciate it. Did we have any other administrative inquiries from anybody? No? Okay, so seeing nothing else on the agenda, I'm going to adjourn the meeting today.